Welcome to PolyCast, a civilization podcast focused on game strategy.
Dan Q.
Makalua.
The Me and Team.
Mad Jin.
With guest co-hosts
Thorburn.
Talco.
Are we performing today?
Technically, this podcast is sort of a performance.
I like how Mac is really definitive about that.
Welcome to episode 196. I'm Trevor, one of the guests for today, and I'm joining Dan Q.
Words that sound like other words are funny.
Mad Jin.
I think it's time to go down to Saskatchewan and go pirate a specific river.
Makalua.
Wait, Pirates of the Caribbean?
No, of Saskatchewan.
And Thorburn.
Arr. I think the last time I was on the podcast, I mentioned that my fiance, I was trying to get her into playing Civilization, and I can actually now say that I succeeded in that endeavor, and it is fun watching her do the one more turn thing. I walked in the other day, and she's like, just give me a couple more turns. I'm about to reveal engineering, and I'll finish up then. A few minutes later, she had already researched engineering and gone on to other things, and it's been fun watching her play. Also, I've been cringing a lot when I look at the map and see that everything's in red. Her happiness and her money's down in the red, and I've actually had to come in and save her a few times.
Did you not think that perhaps she was doing that on purpose to get your attention?
Is she playing Great Merchants?
She hasn't even gotten, I don't think, to Great Merchants yet. She was playing as Rome, and she was actually playing on Prince difficulty, so I think she definitely has to step down her difficulty a little bit.
Was this the first Civ game that she'd played? Like she hadn't played any of the previous titles?
Yeah, and her first solo effort. I mean, I played a little bit together, like in a hot seat format, but we haven't really gotten too far with those games. But then watching her play solo against the AI, and yeah, it's been very cringy, if that's a word.
It is now. And I think you'll be asked some further follow-up questions when your fiance listens to this episode.
Yeah, and she'll probably...
What is that supposed to mean?
I may not make it to host another episode because I'll be at Paula Bash from the lasers that shoot out of her eyes when she hears this.
Pew, pew.
I think what you want to happen in your mind is her to say, what is that supposed to mean? So then it can segue you into saying, well, it just means I'm going to have to show you more of the game. We're going to have to spend more time in the game. She'd be like, all right then.
Yeah. We have a voicemail. He's guest on episode 143 from March 2012, and this is what he has to say.
Hi, my name is Rob Keller, or Also Me. Basically, I'm starting back on my website, awesomeciv.com. Took a little break from Civ, and now I'm coming back, and I'm hosting a tournament, a 48-player FFA tournament. So I was wondering if I could get a plug on your show for the multiplayer community and reach out to your fans and welcome them to join this tournament if they want.
Minimum prizes available at this time, other than bragging rights. First place, $40 Steam Cash. Second place, $20 Steam Cash. Third place, Civ 5 emoticons. And games to be played on Saturday at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. Start date has yet to be determined. Tentative start date is April 5th. This tournament will be played 2 Saturdays in a row, followed by a bye week. Then the following 2 Saturdays will be the completion of the tournament. Based off of NQ rules, no quitting. The first round will have 48 players, the second round will have 24 players, the third round will have 12 players, fourth and final round will have 6 players. Top 3 players place and receive prizes.
Wait, he's going to try and have 6 people in one game at the same time?
Good luck with that.
It's also noted that drafting is going to determine civs played by players. Autoban. Nope, Babylon not enabled, either the Spain or the Huns. And I'm thinking...
Really?
Let's take that as a premise. Korea is okay, and I realize that Assyria is not DLC, but you could allow people to be Assyria, but you're not going to allow the Huns? I don't quite understand this half measure.
Yeah.
Pleasing to explain, Kay, thanks.
Seriously.
Siege towers are totally okay, but battering rams, no, we can't have that.
No Spain, but you can have Inca. And no complaints about the Zulu. Weird.
It says auto ban for Spain too, but then it says DLC allowed above that, Spain and Inca.
Because you're not allowed to have Spain, but since Inca's part of the Spain DLC combo.
Okay.
Although Spain's part of the Gods and Kings expansion.
That's true too.
That's just weird.
Did 5 emoticons? The heck kind of prize is that? No offense.
It's Steam stuff. You can get them for basically free just for buying stuff.
And I know Canuck Soldier, who has been a guest 6 times on PolyCast, that they're going to be assisting with the tournament, and they're working on getting some swag from Civ developer Firaxis Games for the tournament, which is also nice. But I guess really it's about the bragging rights, like Awesome he kind of says. He's saying these are the minimum prizes available at this time other than bragging rights. Mm-hmm. And I guess when you're trying to entice somebody to join or not join, then I would have it clear up front what the prize purses are, rather than saying these are the minimum ones. Like, just wait a little longer till you know whether or not you're going to get something or not. Otherwise, a minor troll point, games are being played Saturday at 11:30 Eastern Time. How are people supposed to tune into PolyCast Live then? Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm. But, yeah, 11:30 Eastern Time, I mean, that's almost good enough worldwide.
Points decide final standings based on end of game through unanimous conceding or a victory condition is met.
Boo.
What?
Yeah, let's just artificially inflate our score with population, guys.
Or Wonder Horror.
Religion.
Points do not matter if player's cap is taken and player quits.
What?
I mean, this is
supposed to be NQ. You're not supposed to quit until you're done.
Well, isn't that the point of it, though? If it's for domination anyway, as soon as your capital's taken, basically all your points are null.
Well, no. You still have points, and you can always retake your capital.
Assuming your capital isn't your only city.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can retake your capital, and that's worth continuing to fight for and not quitting. But I think that's what they're saying. If your capital is taken and then you quit, then you're just supposed to get points.
Yeah, your points don't matter at that point, yes. If you quit, you're out.
So if you don't quit, but your capital is taken, then you can still win?
Yeah, because, you can always have a wonder spamming city that's not your capital and have more points than everybody.
Yeah, because when it says, based on end of game through unanimous conceding or a victory condition is met, so I guess if you know so-and-so isn't going to try to get their capital back, but they've got other cities and they're going to try to sit there and just build wonder after wonder, then you want to push on and try to take the other capitals so you actually meet that victory condition before you get to the end of game, and then the fact that their points might be higher than yours won't matter, because then a victory condition is met. And all victory conditions are enabled, by the way, apparently, in this game.
So I want to see culture wins. Culture win!
No, time victories. Let's go for that.
Not only did we get a voicemail, but apparently we also got an email. So we got an email from Red, who I think has been emailing us before.
This is correct.
Aha. See, I remember stuff. So he says, "Hi, PolyCast crew. So lately I've been playing on a full random settings a lot, and I've run into a problem. Most civs have a clear victory condition to shoot for. Venice and Austria go for diplomacy, Brazil goes for culture, Mongolia goes for domination. Other civs have multiple possible victory conditions, but a clear way to shoot for them. Syria uses war and science to go for dom or space, Babylon and Korea go for science, and they win whatever they want. But my question is, what about the civs that aren't really pushed in any one direction? What do you tend to do with the Shoshone, who are amazing early game and then nice on the defense but don't have a clear victory condition to shoot for? What about Japan, whose UA is pretty, good? Mongolia...
Okay, we need to know. Imagine editorialize. Red, he initially said Japan's unique ability is useless, actually. So imagine used an antonym, but anyway.
Just creative edit. Mongolia, for example, has a mediocre UA, but such an amazing EU that it could shoot for domination. But Japan's UUs don't win wars all by themselves. Well, no, you actually have to tell them what to do. Otherwise, they just stand there. It's crazy.
And I don't know if Mongolia's unique ability is mediocre.
Actually, it is.
I think it's situational. I don't think it's mediocre.
Bonus versus city-states? Yeah. If you take on a city-state, you can probably beat it anyways.
Yeah, but this way you're able to beat them that much more quickly.
Sure. What about America, India, Morocco, the Dutch, Polynesia, or Sweden? They all seem to lack a direction to go for, so how do you decide what to do? Regards. To answer some question in there, just because civs don't necessarily get a bonus towards a specific style of victory condition doesn't mean that they're bad at it. or that they're so generic that you can't really do much with everything. I mean, in theory, every civ can go for every victory style. I mean, India goes culture pretty easily. Not to mention that super high pop in the right spot, get your national college, get your potential observatory if you're lucky, or you can find a place to settle near some jungle for all those happy trading posts, and jungle science can go super science very easily. Morocco can easily get into any of those. The Dutch, Polynesia, big time culture. I don't think that they're so generic, considering that their tile improvement leads directly towards tourism later in the game. And of course, Sweden, a lot of people like to use Sweden for the spam of great generals or other stuff to get that city-state influence.
I think you could make comparable arguments for why civilizations that don't have a specific slant towards a particular victory condition are stronger than those that do, in the sense that if you try to go down that particular path, say Babylon or Korea, science, and for whatever reason there's a misstep, either because of human error or other areas on the map, like going squish, if you focus so much on that, then your ability to adapt might not be so great as if you were a more general civilization, so to speak, in terms of tendencies.
Although I would replace the words Babylon and Korea with Brazil and Mongolia. Because science is God.
I'm saying that if, for instance, you are Babylon or Korea and then you are invaded and cities are taken, then the fact that you have a science slant is kind of hurt considerably. I mean, it depends what cities are taken and when they're taken and your ability to take them back. That's more what I was getting at.
You'll have more science and be better at it, even without losing stuff. Unlike, every other civ, if you lose a bunch of cities, you're still going to be hurt. I mean, your point is correct, where you were trying to go for, but if Brazil, say, lost out on the culture wonders or couldn't get tourism up, or some other civ had, way too much tourism and culture returns so that you can't convert them, then, Brazil shifting gears from a culture victory to, say, a science victory is going to be a lot harder. Or even a domination victory. It's going to be a lot harder than, say, America, who generalizes and builds up an economy and doesn't have a specific benefit towards anything, but just happens to use their economy towards whatever they need. Domination stops working, then they can just retool and go for something else.
Personally, I prefer playing the civs that you can go for anything. I just don't like to be railed so much. Okay, I choose a civ. I mean, I have to go toward culture or whatever for a culture victory. I like to be able to adapt, and what I start out at, I can intend to go for one victory, and by the time I'm to the Middle Ages or Industrial Age, I'm completely on another track because of the way things have unfolded throughout history, so to speak.
For those civilizations that have a particular track, if you choose not to go, and let's use Brazil as an example. Well, it's an example we've already been using, and they're a bit of an extreme example, but an important one. If you decide early on, I've rolled Brazil, you know what? I'm not going to do culture. Okay, so in one respect, if you get beat out by culture, you can probably say, so what? But then at the same time, to best position yourself in the game by not choosing culture, you really got to question, how come you chose not to do that from the outset, as opposed to, this is what I was intending to do, this is what I wanted to do and thought I could do, but now based on circumstances in the game, that's not going to work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually always seen those civs as more tutorial civs for newer players to sort of get a feel on what direction they want to go in when they play with more specific civs.
That, and I could also see if you're trying to move up in difficulty level and you had a particular victory condition in mind, a particular style that you like to play, and you want to, again, increase the difficulty but still kind of give you an advantage down a particular path, and that can also help you, as well as players to the game in general, which I take it you're getting at.
Yeah, that's it.
That's good advice.
Yeah, no, I mean, all the civs are put in with a certain focus in mind. The idea that they should be okay at something, push towards a couple things, even if they seem average or not as directly focused like Brazil for culture. Everything has strengths and weaknesses. Those slightly more generic ones do provide for more replayability. If you take the Americans and go for science victory, well, that'll play different than the Americans for culture victory. Whereas if you go Brazil, well, not going for culture victory, which means my unique ability is only going to sort of help me, and my unique unit is good, but I don't really need the Golden Ages, and, this extra culture, well, that's okay. I can get more ideologies, and that's at least a benefit that way, or more social policies, but none of that's going to help you directly towards science.
So unless there's anything else, we'll move on to the next topic, because I kind of feel like bitching about India right now in the game. Recorded for episode 193 with Makalua, the Mian team, Mad Jin, Alpha Shard, and Raisint.
We got feedback.
We do have feedback.
Do we want Lorwyn's post, I guess, about, he's all, what in order to be mentioned?
We talked about the Casbah.
Yeah, it being awesome.
Yeah, so we said the word awesome about the Casbah.
Like what, have you never built Petra at the same time, guys?
Caspergum, a very good post by him. It's basically, Casbah is itself best decent when you have desert hills and on desert flatlands, but it also expired by the time it's unlocked. He likes the science from rationalism wouldn't be necessary, but the gold on economics is, in his opinion, not at all unreasonable. For the conversation we were talking about, somebody wanted to bump the balance patch for bumping up the Casbah.
Mm.
And it just makes him so annoyed that when people drag the Petra into the discussion of the Casbah power, Petra is a wonder and is only going to be present in one city at best. In most games, Petra seems to go, early, meaning you won't see it because the AI seems to love the wonder, etc. That's true. And yes, Petra is extremely powerful, bordering on overpowered, but it has the same baseline tile improvement that the Casbah does. So if you think the Petra's +1 on everything onto desert tiles is extremely powerful, but you don't think the Casbah's +1 on everything is not overpowered, there's a question on that.
Yeah, because it's John C. Nunn's right beneath it, is that without Desert Faith, a flat desert would be decent with the Casbahs on it, and it would kind of suck without neither of them. Because usually when you have these cities that are along the floodplains and you have a few hills and the rest of it's desert, there's like half your city that's just junk. And the Casbah actually makes it not so junk.
True. And if you have Desert Faith, it makes it even less junk.
Exactly. Petra is like a nice bonus if you can get it.
Mm-hmm.
If you take Desert Faith, then yes, you just have a bunch of desert tiles with one faith on it.
Yeah.
And that's it. Whereas if you have Desert Faith plus you put a Casbah on it, then you have faith plus a bunch of other stuff, so it's not as crappy. And yes, that someone was probably me who said that the Casbah was awesome. You're turning tiles that have zero output into something that's not
right.
Zero.
If we had a ice or tundra version of the Casbah, then we actually wouldn't hate ice cities.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of have to tie the Petra into the Casbah thing, because you're not going to put Casbahs everywhere, just like you would put other stuff everywhere. But if you have a Petra city, then Casbahs are even more powerful, because you're not getting just one food from a desert tile, you're getting two food, and that means that the population point being used on that tile is paying for itself, which does make it much more useful in that respect. And I'm talking just pure desert tiles. Obviously, if you go to hill tiles and stuff like that, things actually get better, and you might actually want the mine rather than the Casbah. Oh, here's a good question for feedback from Class Curran. How come Phil never posts videos of Civ 5 on his YouTube channel?
How come Mad Jin never posts videos of Civ 5 on his YouTube channel?
Yeah, go help Mad Jin.
What? No, this is about you, man.
I see your topic change.
Well, let's put it this way. I'm not currently at the level where I would feel like I could do the game justice. And I'm not playing it as much as I'm playing different games. You could probably take a hint based on what I'm actually posting on my channel. Although since I put up my new computer, I've had some recording issues, which is why that's stalled. But yeah, I mean, simply, I'm not playing it enough to really do an effective Let's Play of it.
We have a post from Lauren, which was pretty detailed, but Dan wanted to respond to a line from him, which Lauren says, despite Dan Q's warning in PolyCast episode about not building all buildings in all cities, you can and ultimately should build all gold-line buildings in all cities because there's no drawbacks, only benefits. And Dan's rebuttal was the drawback to take into consideration is the time spent on production or the gold spent on purchase of such buildings, hence my warning. So basically, the cost of opportunity as well.
And never buy gold buildings. Ever.
The last episode, which was 195, imagine that, we're on episode 196 and the last episode was 195. I know you're glad I pointed that out.
Amazingly, we can count without our shoes off, Dan.
Really?
There were a number of points in response to episode 195.
And probably Dan's favorite is the comment from Dusky. I can't believe it's the first time I've heard pedantic. But
Yeah, why am I not surprised Mackie decided to focus on that particular comment?
we really should be using that more often, honestly, because you do tend to get that way.
Z-Wolf had said, "Hey guys, big fan of PolyCast here. I started playing hard since Brave New World came out, and to find the podcast, I just Googled Civilization Podcast. He listened, liked, and downloaded more. I seriously could hear you guys talk about Civ 5 strategy for hours. And by the way, I don't know if I am right or if I like this game too much, but I think the episodes are too short." Ooh. I mean, I did suggest that he could go back and go through our archives before Brave New World, because there's still some topics that are a bit closer to Evergreen or even Evergreen period when it comes to Civ. But I guess one other thing I could say is you could listen to an individual episode multiple times, and then that would make it sound like the episode was longer and we were just repeating ourselves for emphasis. We talked about last episode, it just came up in the conversation about a Civilization 6 and what system requirements would be. And John C. Dunn said, "Given where the computer industry is, it would be a very bad idea to assume that in 2 years from now, people will have much better power or graphics on their desktops or notebooks than they currently do. Replacement buys fall off a cliff on the Wintel side about the time Windows 8 came out. By contrast, it's currently smartphones and tablets that are getting much better. If they want to be state-of-the-art," and so by state-of-the-art, referring to developer Firaxis and publisher 2K, "I'd suggest instead ensuring that you can have a tablet logged onto your home computer running Civ 6, both connected to the internet, so you could play a few turns of Civ 6 from your tablet when away from home, and then that idea could be used for all of 2K's upcoming games. And I just say this as an aside myself personally. I could do that, but I'm not certain why I would want to do that other than to say I could do that."
Well, tablets are getting a lot nicer and bigger screens and things where you're basically holding something that's the size of a laptop screen, except it's, you can attach it and unattach it from a keyboard. And if it's already a touch thing, that would be a lot easier for playing, honestly, touch. Because you can still do the user error thing of, oops, that's not where I meant to drag that. But, it would encourage more people if they wanted to play from the couch or something.
As long as it's not ubiquitous travel throughout your living space, if you know what I mean. Okay.
What? Would you like to clarify that? I'm not sure what you mean there.
Well, there are certain other rooms where you could be doing things in your home that playing a game is probably not the best idea.
Oh, you don't want people playing Civ from the toilet is what you're saying.
I was going to go with the shower, actually, Mackie,
well,
but...
I wouldn't take a tablet into the shower. That's too much moisture. Come on. Be reasonable.
You should have the tablet built into the shower wall.
Oh, hey. Modern bathroom.
I would say, as far as what I'm concerned, the way I see things going and the way I feel things should go is I would really hope that they would not focus so much on improving the graphics, so to speak. I'm more of about a horizontal improvement as opposed to vertical, and by that I mean instead of adding more polygons and making it look prettier, I'd rather have a wider area to explore and bigger maps, essentially, in the case of Civilization. For me, I would hope that they would use any horsepower they can get out of computers within the next couple of years, whatever may become the standard by then, that they'll use it to make bigger maps and such, as opposed to making it look prettier, but I still only have this small little area where I can explore without my system getting bogged down.
We have computers now that are even quad-core, octa-core, even up to 16 cores. Use all the dang cores.
I can't help but mention a comment that came up otherwise in the conversation about the last episode that relates to this just a little bit from Magma Dragoon, who says, "Why is tessellation with hexagons and a few pentagons the only thing people want to talk about when it comes to a spherical map? The obvious solution is triangular tiles, since triangles can approximate any non-recursive, non-pathological surface."
Yeah, but do you really only want 3 directions to move from?
Well, no, because you just pretend that there was a hex made up of multiple triangles, and then you could work off that.
Do not let me do the maths.
Okay.
While Mackie reboots from a fatal exception error.
Brain OS error.
Also talks about proper balancing of cargo ships versus caravans seems much easier than about just a general comment about Civ 6 system requirements. Just only apply the 2 times bonuses, that's from the cargo ships versus caravans, when the route is between cities on different land masses. I've found that the hammer cost of protecting a sea route that stays on the coastline of your home landmass against barbs is negligible. Just 1 naval unit needed. It's only sea routes that are crossing to a different landmass that have increased risk from barbs. Well, this thing about only having the 2-time bonuses when the route is between cities on different land masses, I don't like that idea of a limitation, to be honest.
I don't mind it.
I wouldn't mind there being an even greater multiplier if it was between different cities on different land masses.
Like you got double for going to another civilization or a city-state on the same continent, and then maybe you got 3 times for going to a different continent?
No, we don't need more money in the system.
Why not? Cha-ching!
I'm fine with the distance calculation, but only if it goes as the crow flies, not, hey, look, I can wrap this
All the way
straight
around
around the coast and come back 3 tiles away. But it's not barbs that drove the concept of sea routes getting double, because really, barbs, who cares? They shouldn't really be a big problem in the game long
I always thought
term
that
anyways.
was more about the fact that a ship could move a lot more cargo.
Yeah.
And historically, sea trade was more lucrative. But it was only really more lucrative when they went far, far away and brought stuff back. Not just because they chose to use a boat to go 100 kilometers down the ocean.
Actually, I find with the point about the barbs, even though it's a subset of this point, I actually find that to be a bigger issue with your caravans than your cargo ships, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Cargo ships, bigger worry for them is other civilizations, especially because like when you get to the medieval and Renaissance period, and you probably have a few enemies by then, and they're going to be wanting to disable you any way they can, and that's a big way to do so is by cutting off your cargo ships.
Or city-states. Evil city-states.
Mm-hmm.
They won't help you necessarily in a war, but they'll go out of their way to go hunt down trade ships.
Otherwise, most of the conversation actually about 195 that came up was in response to great people and great people balancing. Casper Jim said, "Hi guys, thank you for taking the time to respond to my criticism of your discussion in episode 193. Obviously, we disagree about the great person question, and that's fine, but would like to add that I think part of our disagreement stems from the perspective in which we see the discussion. Your reply made it clear that your focus was very much a small balance patch, quote-unquote, perspective, whereas my vision is more like an ideal case scenario, i.e. wish for major overhaul or even future installments of the game. I do agree 100% with you that separating the counters of the great engineer, great scientist, and great merchant will be disastrous for balance if everything is left as it is otherwise, in italics. That really goes without discussion. Thus, if one envisions a world with separate counters, one would have to take measures to prevent having one city spam scientists, another spamming engineers, and a third spamming merchants. And then Casper Jim goes into a little more detail in terms of what he would suggest that to be, and perhaps we can have that as a separate conversation entirely on a future episode.
Sure, why not?
Speaking of Majin, because he was just talking, Securion says, did Majin say you can't build Victorias on already improved tiles, or is this red wine I'm drinking affecting my brain in strange ways?
Both.
Possibly both.
Hobbs Yo-Yo said, he was speaking of building Victorias on improved city-state tiles. I am not sure you can destroy a city-state improvement to place a Victoria. And then John C. Dunn says, yes, you can. I've done that many times. The only time you can't is if there is a known resource present. Given how fast city-states improve all their tiles, this unique improvement would be almost pointless if you couldn't. And yes, Victorias being the unique improvement of the Portuguese civilization that we discussed on the last episode.
And yes, you can build them on somebody's farm. To tie it into the other topic, you can't build it on a strategic resource that you know about, or a bonus resource or a luxury, but it could pop up on top of a strategic resource that you don't know about. Of course, if a strategic resource does pop up, you can pay the city-state to improve that resource, and the code for improving resources doesn't care that you're not supposed to be able to delete the Victoria if you're not Portugal, and it just gets rid of it. Bye-bye.
2 other points from the topic, the discussion of our last episode. Hobbs Yo-Yo again on another point. 2 suggestions, and one I'm not going to get to because it is an entirely separate point. But one was, and it actually ties back to great people. Wow, what do you know? It's like a theme or something. Could you spend some time talking about how to best use great people? It comes up a lot on your show, but usually it's very situation dependent. What would be useful is a general how-to discussion on how to use all the great people in most situations. You don't have to go into nitty-gritty every single scenario detail, just general tips on, say, when to settle certain types of great people versus to use their unique powers. This would be helpful given all the changes to great people since the Gods and Kings and Brave New World expansions came out, and for reference, I almost never settle my great people, and I'm quite sure I'm doing it wrong.
No, I've also almost never settled my great people, unless they're great scientists and early enough in the game that the academy is worth it. And maybe the random manufacturer.
And for me, the great prophet, Polysite. We have talked about great people in this context in the past. Most recently, from March of last year on episode 169, when then Brave New World had just been announced, and we talk about great people, but we really haven't talked about it in general fashion since Brave New World came out. We did talk about it in September 2012 on episode 155, and then right before that on episode 154 in 2012, where planning placement of great person improvements in Civilization 5, although I think we might have already just covered this already, actually, for all intents and purposes. I'm not really sure there was that much significant change between Gods and Kings and Brave New World that we haven't already addressed. The one comment that is still kind of out there, quote-unquote out there, and I hope this person follows up at some point, it was also from our YouTube channel, the first one being actually the first point that Mackie mentioned. Roy Chen says, wow.
That's it?
And that's it. That's all he says. So until, if and when that's clarified, I'm going to interpret that as, wow, this is the bestest podcast ever. Well, thank you.
Debuckner21 on the Civilization Fanatics forums asks, how often do you use your tanks? Normally I play on huge-sized Pangea on standard speed on immortal difficulty. I find that I rarely ever use them. At this point, the AI is usually far behind and doesn't use them either. He also points out that plastics, which is close to the area of tanks in the tech tree, offers more than combustion life. It offers infantry, which have 70 strength, Cristo Rendero, and research labs. Tanks also use oil to build. His question is, how do you all use tanks, and are there any special circumstances that you use them for the extra bit of speed?
For me, I always seem to have a problem getting that far in the game, but in the rare instances that I do get that far in the game, I do use the tanks because they have a bit of a faster speed than infantry or anything, and of course they're the best for taking it. I just weaken the cities down with the bombardments and everything else, and then with the artillery and aircraft, and then I'll drive in there with a tank and be done with it.
Same here, or the land ship before it.
Yeah. You can move them in real quick. You can keep them out of range of the city. Be good.
There are also times where I like to use my bombers, and I will promote them so that they can attack units in and around a city, and then I might use the tanks to then finish the job because they can then attack and then move, and then also to use the tanks. It depends on the strength of the other cities. The tanks themselves can also be very powerful to attack cities, not just to move in and do the final blow because airplane units can't actually go into a city and capture it, but you'd need a land-based unit for that. So it's a combination of those two things.
And tanks versus anti-aircraft. If somebody's just spamming anti-aircraft guns, then either you're wasting your entire set of air units every turn trying to get past that AA, or you can just build a bunch of tanks and run them over.
Yeah, use the tanks to run them over, and then use your bombers to go in to the city.
The point about it being on a far side of the tech tree away from the useful techs is probably the primary reason people don't use tanks very often, because it is far to the side. It's not even on the path to nukes. I mean, seriously. If you're going for later game domination and you do the save up the GS thing anyways, instead of bulbing towards science victory, you can bulb towards tanks, get up some modern armor, and then just run over everything.
And you can even pick up some few autocracy planets there too. Like with lightning warfare, you get faster tanks that do more damage and ignore zone of control.
This is true.
So then you have tanks that can weave in and out of all the units, and too bad for you. Unless you're on heavy terrain. They are fast enough that you can get a number of tanks to do a proper flanking surround on units because they have enough movement points that you can do that and break down some like fortified infantry and stuff like that.
They can also be good for protecting your artillery, your rocket launchers and stuff, because, of course, your rocket launchers have a distance, but even still, if they try moving in somebody to go after it, when their own tanks, for example, you can have your tanks there surrounding it to protect your artillery.
Mm-hmm.
And with all the movement, you can use them for pillaging the hell out of your land.
Yeah, just mass pillage.
Because we all love the pillage.
Make sure you get the money
Pillaging is fun.
But yeah, if you're not committed to domination, then going off to tanks is a little odd for that period of the game.
Well, there's also the Great Firewall comes right after tanks. That's good for if you're going culture and you have a big opponent.
True, but if you're going culture, you're going to want to be on the plastic side anyways and crank straight into globalization and internet web.
The River, Mountain, and Hill trilemma. Saga X states in his thread, in some of my games, I encounter this kind of spot when selling a new city. A hill, a river, and a mountain are located in a way that you can only use two of them for their full benefit. This means, 1, you can settle on a hill adjacent to a river, but the mountain will be 1 tile away, thus denying the observatory. 2, you can settle on a hill adjacent to the mountain, but the river will not be next to the city, thus denying all river-based buildings. And 3, you can settle next to both river and mountain, but on a flat tile with lower production. Assuming this is the 3rd or 4th city, and your choice won't affect your reach to crucial resources, where would you pop the settler?
That qualification in that last sentence is very important in answering this question.
Yes, because if it's your capital city, you're going on the hill.
Yeah.
Whether it's next to the mountain or not. If it's not, then we're going to go next to the mountain and the river.
With the capital city, you went on the Hill River. If it's 3rd or 4th city, I still go with the Hill River. I mean, the observatory is nice, but for me, it's not a priority. To me, I think you get a lot more out of the river with all the river-based buildings that you can build. And, of course, the hill gives that extra bonus with the defense and production and everything. So, for me, it's a no-brainer. And I voted on the little poll that they have there, Hill and River.
But we can also see from the poll is that rivers are superior.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, nobody doesn't want a river.
One person did.
One person wanted the hill mountain.
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty sure that was a misclick.
Or at least
see.
Dan hopes you misclicked.
River and Mountain has 64% of the vote, and Hill and River has 33%, and that one vote for Hill and Mountain amounts to 2. Aw.
Yes, I'll go for the Hill River. Well,
It also
capital...
depends on what civ you are, too, whether you want that extra science from the observatory.
Oh yeah, if this was capital, this would be, I'd be like,
Yeah, Hill River, no-brainer.
no.
I'd take River Mountain.
I would take River Mountain too, because then you could get the observatory, because your capital is likely going to be your science, and that'll give you, your science source. Those listening wondering what's with the observatory, plus 50% science, no maintenance available at Renaissance. But the city must be next to a mountain.
And it stacks with the National College, which is 99% of the time going to be in your capital. So I'll take River Mountain, as long as the territory around it isn't horrible to defend the city, because cities on not hills, bad.
That's one thing. With the hill and mountain or something next to a mountain, one time that I will do that is if I see a good strategic defensive location where it's like maybe at a mountain pass and whatnot, where I can just put a city there, may have resources worth for me grabbing, but it makes it difficult for another civilization to come in and attack that city because they basically have to line up their troops to come in, and I can just take them down one by one, as opposed to coming in from all sides.
Yeah, it really does depend on what the map looks like. If it's like a single mountain tile in the middle of flat area, then that's going to suck a lot more than if it's like a massive mountain range protecting everything.
And if you're playing as the Inca, too, I can see going for hill and mountain, because then those terrace farms are really going to make up for the missing river if there's a lot of mountains around.
That is true.
Yep. So it's just a question, do you want to dodge the river-based buildings? Because, I mean, with no money on a river, all you're really doing is going for the extra farm, but you don't have to be on the river. You just need the river close to you to get the extra food.
And the extended trade routes in the early game.
Yeah, that's true. Trade route bonus.
Extra food can equal eventually extra money, extra anything else, basically, because the more people you have, the more production you have and everything, theoretically. Kind of a rock, paper, scissors thing again.
Mm-hmm. Although I love this. Ciliandra said in the thread, the one that is most defensible, Hill and Mountain. But then I go and check who voted, and they didn't vote for Hill and Mountain.
And that's a misclick.
Yep.
CPM 4001 in the thread said, I'd say it depends entirely on the surrounding resources. Settle wherever nets you the most resources.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily. You say it depends entirely on the surrounding resources? No, I think it'd say depend heavily on the surrounding resources. It's in part, what do you see the purpose of that city doing?
Yeah, let's think. is this a mountain hill in the middle of vast jungle? Then yes, I will please take that observatory. If not,
Observatory with the university in the jungle.
Yep. Even if it doesn't have the National College, it's still well worth getting that 50%.
Recorded for episode 190 with Dan Q, Makalua, the Bean Team, Mad Jin, and Silent Knight 13. You know exactly what I'm doing. Speaking of lists...
Oh, no. I say we cut that one.
No. It's too late. I already talked about doing a list.
We've already had a list, though. You gave us a list of things from the survey, so we've already done our list quota for the day. Nope.
Yeah.
No, this is a top 10. You gotta have the top 10. Gotta have a top 10.
It's not
we
a top
don't.
10.
Ha ha! Already done. So sad. Too bad for you.
Not a top 10?
No, yep. You
Nope.
will survive.
Nope.
You will
Nope.
survive. All right. You know what? The only way to settle this is to ask our guest. So, guest of the 3 intro outro topics, let's just let his neutral party decide it's awesome. This episode is long enough already.
I would like you to know that depending on your answer, you may or may not ever come back.
Mackie said that, not me. I don't know why she'd play that card. That's pretty outro topics.
Because people think you're a nice guy and all Canadian, but really, you're ruthless, man.
Yeah. These top 10 lists.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I kind of do. Choose which one do you think?
I do.
I don't know. I feel the pressure on me.
Did you not know that I don't know is an automatic default for the topic I want to know? Okay, no, choose one.
Just go with I don't know. I don't know.
You are ruthless, Dan. Come on, man.
Poor fellow.
You know what? There's Canis Albinus, Civ Colonel Mustard, and Plato33 that are registered Ustream users that are currently in the chat. The chat gets to decide now. We got to keep it as
All right.
Type out. Canis says hi. I don't think that's one. Did you know hi is a default answer for the topic I want? No, that's not nice. So again, the choices are. Oh yeah, we haven't told you what all the other choices are. That's funny.
Come on, guys, vote on nothing. You got this.
The choices are Thread Necromancy, Great Scout War, or Jokes. So Jokes, Necromancy, or what the heck was the other one? Oh yeah, Scout. And whoever types it first, who is a registered Ustream user that's also not a moderator. Colonel Mustard said Jokes. Yes.
Couldn't you tell if that was the list topic? Gosh.
So these were 1001 bad or good jokes about Civilization 5. Undefeatable. 280 jokes later across 9 pages. Here is my top 10, and yes, it turned into a fantastic thread.
Oh, now we know the other reason why Dan wanted this.
Number 10, Genghis conquered all of Asia. Can you? Number 9, from Sir Parker II. Catherine falls behind a lot, so she is always rushing to catch up. King William I has the 8th spot. I was at war with Byzantium and needed laser eye surgery. Too many cataphracts. Number 7, Knock Knock. The Australian unique unit from Gory the Grey. Asher Benapal always says he's Syria, but he never mentions which one from Dude with the Food, right? Because he says, Syria, but not, the Syria. Yeah, I had to explain that one. Phil Bowles, number 5. I like the joke about Ethiopia, so I think I'll steal it. Number 4. How do Greece's non-mounted unique units move? They hop lightly. Number 3, also from Phil Bowles. I asked Remy whether he was the king of Thailand, and he responded, yeah, Siam.
Wow.
Number 2, Dr. Doom. Shaka, are you going to invade me? I kind of want to. The number 1 spot goes to Byzantium Bomb. It says, Washington is so two-faced, bro, he'll turn on you in a minute, man. And you can read the rest for yourself, or not.
Thinking not, if that was the good ones.
And here I thought a PolyCast tradition of not hating on my top 10 lists would end, but I understand why it must also continue.
Asper Media has decided to get performable, or something weird like that, and went and updated the Mac version of Civ 5, because they can do that sort of thing without waiting for Firaxis. if you're on PC and you think, oh, they got a patch and we didn't, no, this is all about the Mac stuff, so don't worry about it. Support for the 4K resolution because of the new macro, and offers improved performance, faster game, fewer crashes. Okay, well, people might want that anyways. But Mac gamers will now be able to fully take advantage of OpenCL framework, means better visuals, improved performance, and the game should run faster and fewer crashes. The fewer crashes may be just directly related to the Mac side. Using OpenCL just means that Asper is catching up, so it probably wouldn't necessarily help the PC side.
Wait a minute, who's catching up?
Asper.
I thought it was Aspire.
I don't know.
It is Aspire.
Is it Aspire? Are they aspiring?
Mm-hmm.
Have they aspired to be Asper?
Blair worked for Aspire. He had said in the comments on Inside Mac Games that we knew an update like this wouldn't make us any money, so we wanted to give the benefit to the most amount of gamers possible. And I'm trying to absorb
What?
components of that sentence into something that's called logic. Actually, I would think that if someone was kind of like, gee, I don't know, I want to play Civ or just gaming in general on my Mac, we knew an update like this wouldn't make us any money. Well, it might if someone was hesitating to purchase this game because of performance issues.
Is the performance really that bad on the Mac?
No, it's just according to developer Blair. Civ 5 has a huge memory footprint, which is obvious because it uses a crap ton of graphics. And it's all for graphics because of all those tiny little things that the little birds in the jungles and stuff like that, and all the individual little units. And inside those little units, all the individual people all working with their left hands.
Hey, my strategy wouldn't work without those birds.
Basically, them implementing OpenCL is just use a different framework to manage that memory issue and shift stuff over to the GPU, which means it runs faster because GPUs are faster than trying to use system memory for the graphics anyways. So it's an engine-ish style change that improved things for people who have the new Mac Pro.
Cool.
Civilization Online, which we last discussed in December of 2013, that was episode 189, and we previously talked about it before that in 180 and 160, is we have learned that Civilization Online from the South Korean game developer XL Games is 60% done towards an open beta, and that open beta is to appear in the first half of 2014, and seeing as how we are halfway through, I guess we're going to see this on or by the end of June. But the bigger component is that the civilizations have been announced, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is the end of my sentence. It is 4. Specifically, it is China and Rome and Egypt and Azteca.
Oh, sweet, Aztecs.
They also released some quote-unquote screenies, some concept art. This is to be a massively multiplayer online game. Article on Joystick resulted in a conversation and kind of discussion thread of more than 50 replies to some rather visceral responses, which was, quote, a classification of Civilization Online as a more casual spin on the series that won't require as much time invested as the single-player variants, unquote. And some people are like, what? This is an outrage. Well, I'm done with this. And I'm thinking, this comes as a surprise to you because why?
Most of the people who are probably raging wouldn't be allowed to play the game in the first place because they're not in Korea or China. It's getting released in Asia first, and that's where the massive online stuff, when it comes to MMOs that are always online and high connectivity and stuff like that, that's where that sort of game will get a lot more play. Kind of like, StarCraft is big in Korea because it's all online and speed. Whereas you're not going to be allowed to play this in North America for quite some time.
To launch in Asia in 2014, not even launch in Asia first in 2014, because the launch in Asia might be it, depending upon how well it does or does not do.
Yeah, because if it tanks in Asia, then it's not going anywhere.
Looking at it, I haven't really understand what it's going to be about. I mean, it says multiplayer RPG, but I mean, how do you make an RPG like that out of Civ? I'm really so confused. I know I must have missed the episodes that was talked about before, but looking online, I don't really see much more than those links, and it doesn't really say much of anything about it.
Well, that's part of the marketing.
Yeah, until somebody gets their hands on like a preview build or something, we're really not going to know how this goes together.
And there's set to be an open beta that's supposed to start in the next few months, so people will be able to play it, and I'm assuming, of course, by the term open beta, it's not going to be like, oh, you're under NDA, you can't talk about stuff, so we can get perspectives from not just, the quote-unquote professionals in the industry, but summarizing a little bit, the idea being that you and other people, real-life people, are playing characters in a given civilization, and you work together to build, and diplomacy is also to be a key thing, because in order to do some considerable things in the game, you need to either cooperate with other civilizations or take them over. But you yourself assume the role of one person, as in an actual citizen within that game, as like a builder, for example, or a warrior. And if you're a warrior, you want to hook up with somebody else who is a builder in the game. And then you go forward as part of that civilization and have interactions with other people. Games, as I also understand, they will have a defined beginning and end, like the now defunct Civilization world.
Well, given that what you just said, I mean, it does kind of sound a little interesting, so I'll definitely have to keep an eye on that.
If anyone is listening to this and they're thinking that this is something that they would like to check out and be interested in, and you could actually play it, if you can get in contact with me, say on Polton or Civ Fanatics or We Play Civ, Civ Players, or even just send an email to thepolycast@gmail.com, because once this comes out in open beta, or certainly by the time it is fully released, Civcast, a sibling show to PolyCast, hasn't done much of anything in years, and I would like to see Civcast revive, only now focusing on Civilization Online. But in order to do that, we're going to need people that are not only interested in playing the game, but can actually play the game. So, just putting that out there.
Hello, Korean gamers. This is Sid Meier at Firaxis Games. I'd like to thank you for your many years of support for Civ and all of our Firaxis games. I've got some exciting news for you. Jake Song and his team at XL Games is creating a new chapter in the Civ story. Civilization Online MMO. Looking forward to all the fun that they're going to create for us. I'm looking forward to playing it myself. Thanks again for all your support.
So hey, Firaxis is going to be on a big mega panel at PAX East. If anybody's going, I don't know that any of our listening audience is, but hey.
It's the 11th to the 13th.
Yes, and it's on April 12th if theirs is. 11:30 to 12:30 p.m. Let's see. Oh, it's a good thing we're not recording, because then you'd have to either listen to us or go to the thing, and then, oh my goodness, how would you choose?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Dear 2K, next time you want to schedule a panel, can you check with us to make certain it doesn't conflict with our recording schedule? Okay, thanks. Peace out.
Or if it does, just have somebody report live from the show.
Yeah, we could just say the next episode of PolyCast is going to be that panel, and then they could do the episode for us. Yeah, that works too. That's a good thought, Sal.
Right. Bring PolyCast to PAX.
You'd have to get a ticket first, and that's, insane.
And if the people who are there can tell us what this new sneak peek project is.
And it does say that the executive producer at Revision 3 Games, Adam Sessler, is going to moderate the panel. 2K and Firaxis, I was available, and probably for a lot less money, too. Just saying.
Well,
sure.
Next time.
But you weren't already going to be there anyway, so,
Yeah, you couldn't get a ticket.
I'm looking at the list of other events that are going on at the same time as the Firaxis Mega Panel. And one of the ones I see there is why you should hate SimCity and other games that ruined your life.
When I hear that title, I look at it as a kind of glass half full, Mackie. Like, how come they have wasted our life because of how good they are? Not the glass half empty. How come the latest SimCity is such crap, Mackie? I don't know why you would look at it that way.
Another one is apparently why it's awesome to be a female in the gaming industry.
Because partner prospects are good? Duh!
This is where Mackie breaks into It's Raining Men.
Yeah, but as much as I like the men to have a little bit of nerdiness, the nerd factor would be through the roof, and that might be a little much. Just saying.
Here's another one. Indie to AAA, what you need to know about podcasting.
Oh, see, there you go, Dan.
Dear whoever hosts that panel, I was available and for a lot less. Okay.
Call in today. In North America, the number is 301-637-7659.
That's 301-637-POLY.
In Europe, 44121-288
44-121-7659. That's 44-121-288-POLY.
The only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about.
For more information on PolyCast,
our sibling shows Modcast, Revcast, and Turncast,
or about PolyCast in general,
log on to the series' official website at thepolycast.net.
There is now a cousin series to PolyCast and all of the sibling podcasts. You might be thinking, what's the difference? Well, there's Civilization podcasts that are siblings, like PolyCast, Modcast, Revcast, for example. But now there's also this Dramedy series, which has Mackie as a voice actress, along with myself as one of the voice actors in a story that I wrote. The first episode of this 13-episode series, at least 13 episodes for Season 1, will have been released, and you can check that out over at onemoreturn.net.
So, new cool stuff from Dan & Co. doing a live action...
Or live voice, at least.
Well, I'd like to hear you explain how the dead voices speak.
Thank you. You've been listening to PolyCast. This has been episode 196. This has been Sal Thorburn Sirio. We've been joined today by Majin, Makalua, Trevor Alcove, and, of course, as always, Daniel Quick.
I think it's time to go down to New Mexico. I hear there's lots of plundering.
You're visiting Black Mesa before the Resonance Cascade?
Myself.
I'll show you one more turn. Hey.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Calling for Sal.
Yes, I'm sorry. He stepped outside. This is his fiance. He'll be back in just a minute.
That's okay. He did tell us in a chat that he was heading out. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Hold on, here he is.
Hey, Sal.
Hey.
Yeah, your fiance told us all your secrets, just so you know.
Okay.
You know that's going to make the blooper reel, right?
Oh, yeah.
I guess I have a memory like a goldfish. Did you introduce yourself, Trevor?
Yep, I think so.
At the beginning, said he was Trevor.
Oh, did he? Oh, I thought he just introduced the episode number in the show. I don't remember him introducing himself.
Goldfish.
Goldfish.
Sounds like the name of a failed James Bond movie.
I don't know why that's so funny, but it is. How is Montezuma's headdress bigger than he is?
He likes bling. I don't know.
It's just...
Little known historical fact.
Seriously, how does his head stay upright? I mean, I know feathers and things are light, but dang.
Also, little known historical fact. Brought to you by PolyCast.
Yeah, don't use this for historical reference. Would be bad.
Or if you do send us the link and let us know how that goes for you.
It will go badly.
Speaking of bad or not bad...
Always the time for the tanks.
Yeah, that was called
right.
Segway, but why no? We're not exactly known for the strength of our segues.
Ooh, Segway's making tanks?
It's a very good segue. Anyway, tanks.
You're welcome.
Pardon?
I said you're welcome.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I've been holding on to that. I've been waiting for the opportunity to say that. That's all Civilization is a game of rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, just unfortunately, when you go to throw rock, it's far, far away from scissors and paper.
Speaking of rock, paper, scissors, hey, that's a set of 3. It's almost a trilemma which to go with. Oh.
Oh, he gets the good throw?
Just
no favoritism around here.
No.
Dan, did you link the schedule?
Yes, I did.
I mean to the audience.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Just checking, yeah.
So assuming that we've actually lost Trevor.
I think we probably have, for whatever reason. I don't know what happened there.
His icon's no longer on the Skype anymore. Sorry.
I'm calling him back, actually.
Oh.
Okay.
Trying to anyway. But, yeah, so when you do the closing there, Sal, we'll... Oh, there he is, I think.
Yeah, my...
Oops. Yeah, my dead there.
Awesome.
My...
Computer's like, no, you get back here. No speaky on interweb.
Beep. Yo, Mom.
My fiance's like tugging at me because she has to go to work.
And this is about the time that you needed to leave, right?
Yeah, that's right.
See, look at that. Timed just perfectly. You are welcome. And if your fiance wants to thank me as well, she's welcome to do so.
Thank you.
She said thank
Awesome.
Record date March 29th, 2014. Civilization 4 and 5 sound clips. Copyright Take-Two Interactive. Copyright Civilized Communication at civcom.net.